Suppose you found a room that could fulfill your every wish. Would you use it? For Matt and Kate, it all started with an ordinary house purchase. It was a chance to start a new life, away from the bustling city and its problems. But when they discover a hidden room with no doors or windows, their quiet life suddenly turns into something completely different. At first they see it as an insignificant find, but they quickly realize that this room has a powerful but dangerous force. It grants wishes. Any dream, even the most insignificant, becomes a reality. At first it's just a convenience, improvements in life, desires that have long been forgotten or put off. But with each new wish, the world around them begins to change, and not always in the way they expected. Something strange happens when wishes begin to come true. The consequences are not as harmless as they seemed, and the people around them also begin to feel the influence of this force. So it turns out, what if your wish doesn't bring the happiness you've been waiting for? What if it changes everything? This room becomes more than just a mystery. It's the beginning of a journey into a world where every wish can lead to unexpected, sometimes dangerous consequences. Chapter 1. Backdoors. Matt and Kate are an ordinary young couple who have decided to start a new life in a quiet place, away from the hustle and bustle. However, their motivations and desires are revealed over the course of the movie, when they encounter a mysterious room that can grant any wish. Matt, at first a seemingly simple man, wants to find tranquility and stability in his life. His desire is not just to improve his material conditions, but also to find harmony in his relationship with Kate. He is convinced that the room can give them everything they dream of, and soon uses its possibilities to change his life. However, the more he realizes the power of the room, the more his doubts begin to manifest. Matt's inner conflict intensifies when he realizes that wanting to get everything he wants may have undesirable consequences. Kate, on the other hand, is not initially as open to change. She has always been more cautious and reserved. But the room soon becomes her way of dealing with the disappointments and losses she has experienced in the past. Spontaneously starting to use it, Kate hopes that all her wishes and dreams will come true, and her life will be perfect. However, as she becomes more immersed in the possibilities of the room, her inner turmoil begins to pull the darker sides of her character to the surface. Instead of feeling the true joy of her realized desires, she begins to feel an inner emptiness. Their conflicting motives and actions become the basis for conflict. While for Matt the room becomes a tool for change, for Kate it becomes a way to escape pain and disappointment. But what if the desires they fulfill begin to destroy everything that matters to them? The setting of the movie is a house that Matt and Kate have purchased in the backwoods, away from the bustling city. This house seems perfect for a new chapter in their lives, detached and peaceful. Its antique exterior, cozy rooms, and dilapidated walls create an atmosphere of seclusion. At first glance, the perfect place to forget everything and start anew. But the more time they spend in this house, the more its oddities become apparent. The environment gradually becomes not as simple as it seemed at first. The walls of this house hide an ancient secret, something inexplicable that was hidden here many years ago. The appearance of the mysterious room, which Matt finds by accident, turns the house into a place where time and space begin to succumb to manipulation. Not only are the laws of physics broken here, but the sense of reality begins to blur. It seems to be an ordinary house, but the atmosphere becomes more tense and disturbing every day. The room they find seems to be part of another world. It is an invisible reality, hidden from the outside world. Its walls, its space, everything seems infinitely simple, but at the same time capable of rewriting the laws of existence. The environment of the house begins to change its character. Objects wear out, change, appear, and disappear. All of this makes the space unfamiliar and tense. As Matt and Kate begin to use the room to fulfill their wishes, they are immersed in this paradoxical world where everything seems possible. While in the house, they begin to feel disconnected from real life, as if every step they take becomes part of something bigger. And along with them, those around them begin to experience changes, sometimes completely inexplicable. For example, for acquaintances Matt and Kate, the world around them also becomes malleable, and they begin to feel their reality changing. Neighbors, family, and friends who happen to be nearby notice the strange changes. Even though their lives are getting weirder and weirder by the day, they can't understand what is happening. All these people at some point begin to feel that something is wrong in their lives, but they can't understand how these changes are connected to the mysterious room. Quote, "If what is happening is real, is that really what it means to be human?" End quote. An important secondary character is John Doe, a man connected to the house's tragic past and its bloody history. He is present in the movie as a source of warning to Matt and Kate, revealing to them the secrets of the house and the room. He tells them that not everything is as simple as it seems at first glance, and that wishes granted in the room do not always bring joy. He warns that every deed will be paid for not only by the one who uses the room, but also by those around him. This is a character who sees the room as a curse rather than a blessing. In addition, an important element in describing the environment is the psychological state of Matt and Kate. The environment in which they live begins to actively influence their personal experiences, intensifying their internal contradictions. Gradually, the house that was supposed to be a refuge for them turns into a cage from which it is impossible to escape. With each new use of the mysterious room, the heroes begin to realize that the wishes they have fulfilled do not bring the desired happiness. At first glance, everything seems perfect. Everything Matt and Kate could possibly want becomes available in the blink of an eye. They start earning money, get their desired careers, and their lives are filled with material goods. Gradually, however, they begin to realize that even their biggest dreams, fulfilled without effort, do not yield what they expected. Matt, for example, hopes that his desires for personal relationships and a better life will bring him a sense of fulfillment and inner satisfaction. However, the more he receives, the more he feels that he is not achieving what he really needs to be happy. While the material goods become more and more apparent, the emotional emptiness grows, and the feelings of fulfillment disappear. Kate, on the other hand, tries to find her purpose in her desires. She thinks that fulfilled dreams will allow her to deal with her inner problems and feelings of dissatisfaction, but soon discovers that they only increase her depression. Feeling that everything she has received has no real value makes her question the meaning of what is happening. She is faced with the fact that even huge changes in her life cannot fix her inner turmoil. As they begin to realize that they themselves and their loved ones are becoming part of this strange world created by desires, their attitude towards the room changes. Instead of continuing to use it as a source of comfort, they begin to fear that their desires could lead to the destruction of not only their own lives, but the lives of those around them. With each new step they take, they are faced with consequences that they could not have originally predicted. The many situations that occur after using the room become more and more dangerous. When Kate decides to use the room to create a child, their world changes rapidly. This new element, the wanted child, becomes the source of many moral dilemmas and problems. This process leads to a rapidly developing conflict between the heroine and her husband Matt, as they begin to realize that they cannot simply rescind their request. The baby created in the room becomes not just a part of their lives, but rather a symbol that they cannot control their desires and their consequences. When Matt and Kate begin to realize that the room is giving and taking away something much more than they expected, their relationship begins to crumble. They try to find a way out of this crisis, but realize that their actions in the room are becoming uncontrollable. More and more changes in their lives jeopardize their connection and peace of mind. When the wishes fulfilled by the room lead to disastrous consequences, the characters face a harsh reality. What began as an opportunity to improve their lives and find happiness turns into a trap. Material goods, which seem so desirable, begin to lose their value, and internal problems only worsen. It is at this point that the heroes realize that their aspirations have taken a tragic turn, and now they must face the consequences of their actions. Excerpt. At the peak of tension, Kate, after many emotional struggles and a growing sense of anxiety, decides to use the room to create a baby. It's her way of feeling in control of her life, but doesn't realize that this decision will lead to disastrous consequences. After the birth of the baby, Shane, horrific events begin to occur in their home that cannot be stopped. When Shane, who appeared thanks to the room, begins to age rapidly and lose his human features, the situation spirals out of control. This process not only frightens the heroes, but also puts them in front of the impossibility of getting everything back. Everything they try to achieve collapses, and they realize that their desires no longer have power, and the consequences cannot be undone. The baby created in the room becomes not only a symbol of their mistake, but a threat to their lives. Faith in the baby created in the room becomes not only a symbol of their mistake, but a threat to their lives. Kate, exhausted not only by her role as a mother, but also by the fact that her desires have led to this gruesome result, finds herself in a moral dilemma. Should she leave things as they are or try to make things right? She is faced with the most painful truth of all. No matter how strong her desire to take it all back, it won't work. The room, as it turns out, doesn't just grant wishes, it takes more than it can give. Matt, realizing that they can no longer control their desires, decides to fight the consequences. He realizes that he needs to take drastic steps to save his family. His actions become more determined, and he comes to the decision that the only way to end this cycle is to destroy the room itself. But before doing so, he is faced with the hardest decision of all. Can they find a way out and save each other without destroying their lives even more? After the destruction or disappearance of the mysterious room that fulfilled all their wishes, the lives of the heroes change irreversibly. Everything they've gained has turned against them at some point. And now that everything has come to its logical conclusion, they have to live through the consequences of their actions. Pete and Matt find themselves at a loss. They are no longer the same people they were before the room came into their lives. What once seemed like a blessing has now become their burden. Despite trying to correct their mistake, they don't have complete control over what happens. The room gave them everything they dreamed of, but their naive notions of happiness were quickly dispelled when their desires began to take shape. Much darker than they could have imagined. Shane's appearance was an irreparable mistake that they had to struggle with until the very end. The characters realize that their lives will never be the same again, and they can't go back to normalcy. At some point, Matt and Kate realize that their aspirations, though not harmless at first glance, brought not only destruction, but also an inner emptiness. They have lost not only what they might consider part of their happiness, but the very essence of what it means to be happy. Having accepted this fact, they must decide to make the ultimate sacrifice. The shocking and severe consequences for the family affect not only their physical existence, but also their state of mind. As they try to mend their relationship, they realize that the time to turn back is gone. In the end, their lesson is that they can no longer be the people they used to be. The lesson is not that their wishes and dreams must be fulfilled at all costs, but that it is important to accept the consequences of their decisions. When they finally leave the home where their struggle with their own desires once began, they may lose not only what they held dear, but also their innocence. However, the experience leaves an indelible mark on their souls. Realizing that happiness does not always come through material goods or the desire to fix everything quickly, the heroes begin to search for new ways to inner peace and harmony. Now that you have seen how the wishes of the characters, when fulfilled, led to disastrous consequences, I want to ask you some questions that may make you think. Imagine you had the opportunity to change your reality. What would you do? Would you take that chance to change your life? And what if your desires began to affect not only you, but also those around you? Minhope is a dragon lord. What decisions would you make if you learned that every choice you make has a cost? For example, you could change your destiny or get rid of something that brings you pain. But what if that brought unpredictable consequences that affected not only you, but those you love? Think about it. How important to us is the control we try to hold over our lives? And at what point do desires begin to destroy what we've been trying to build for so long? These are not just questions, but a real philosophy that questions the concept of happiness and the meaning of life. Is it really possible to control your destiny without facing the consequences? And if so, is it worth it?